Elvis is entering the building, baby. I'm just looking over at Ben like, did that fly? That didn't fly.
Yeah, that was a little rough. You can take that back if you want. Take it back.
I'm going to. Yeah.
All right.
You're listening to a Cult Talk Network podcast.
File access granted.
Hello, all you believers, idealists, skeptics, and all those who question the universe around them. I'm Bailey.
And I'm Ty.
And welcome to this fabulous May Day. I think I've said it in every May episode so far, which is my little nerd factor. But I'm very excited because not only is it a gorgeous day in May, we're also celebrating a very sweet anniversary.
Yeah, it is the 2-year anniversary of our very first podcast, Cult of Campbell.
Yes, the one that started it all.
The one that started, it's crazy to think we started 2 years ago with a podcast just talking about Bruce Campbell. And here we are with Cult of Lore, Cult Talk Conspiracy, of course, ton of YouTube bonus content, Cult of Russell, which rears its head every now and then. Yeah. I mean, it's wild. 2 years ago, just a bunch of dudes sitting around talking about shitty Bruce Campbell movies. And we've made something out of it. We got to meet Bruce Campbell. Yeah. We got a ton of fans and friends. And
yes.
It's been an awesome experience. And it all just started talking about Bruce Campbell. It's wild. It's wild. That's the start of our story.
I think all of us have made it to one Campbell festival, at least by this point in the year.
Yep.
All of us at Cult Talk Net have. And it's been a blast, guys. It's been awesome.
Every time I meet Bruce.
Every time.
My favorite. Every time I meet Bruce, yeah.
He is such
a co-star.
He is such a dandy. I thought I was your co-star.
Bruce is my first co-star.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. That's fine. I'm gonna act like I'm not
my
hurt.
Bruce Fest co-star. Ted Raimi.
And Ted Raimi.
Got to share the stage with me.
There was some guy that was shaking like a leaf the whole time, but I think he was just a stagehand.
Poor Eric.
Poor thing. He was so terrified.
And of course, this is Cult of Campbell Celebration Week.
Yes, and just seriously, guys, coincidentally, I really decided to do a Deceptively Dead series, and one of the top guys on this was the King, Elvis Presley. So it just
so happened to land on this week. Like it really did. Like it was all coincidental. It wasn't like, we didn't like talk about Deceptively Dead and decide let's do Elvis as part of Cult of Campbell Celebration Week. It just all fell into place. It's wild. Everything fell into this week. Aside from Cult of Lore, which I know those guys planned this out toward the end of last year. And, obviously Bubba Hotep, which we watched yesterday.
Oh, beautiful.
But as far as dates go, everything just fell into place. It's wild.
Awesome. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, it's something. And of course, what better way to follow up Bubba Hotep than with the story of the mysterious death or circumstances surrounding the supposed death of one of rock and roll's greatest icons, Elvis Presley.
Oh, yes. Have you always been an Elvis fan?
No, I'm not really that big of an Elvis fan. I mean,
really?
People think I am. No, I just like Bubba Hotep.
Oh my gosh.
If I have any memorabilia of Elvis, it's because I've either mistakenly or in my mind placed some sort of Bubba Hotep connection to it. That is it. If I have any, the closest thing I have to anything Elvis is that Bubba Hotep figure that you guys got me for Christmas. That is it. I'm not a big Elvis fan. I can probably name, maybe 5 songs of his if I'm lucky, and if I take some time to really reach back there. But I'm not an Elvis fan. I'm not a big Elvis fan. Not my thing. I don't know.
Man, my dad and my mom, they loved rock and roll, and they especially loved Elvis. My dad especially. We watched not all of them, but a good bit of Elvis Presley movies, Blue Hawaii, and then what I had it written down here, Jailhouse Rock. Yeah, Jailhouse Rock. That was a big one.
See, I know all these references. I know him in pop culture, and I know him by these references. But as far as my familiarity with with Elvis Presley, that's as far as it goes.
Oh yeah. No. Like this guy was huge. Like obviously, like I don't need to tell you that. But like
Right.
even like growing up as a young kid, I can remember dancing to You Ain't Nothing But a Hound Dog and my dad singing Jailhouse Rock to us when we were bad. Like and of course like I literally just had it. It's a whisper of a wind away. It's like wise men say only fools fall in love. I can't remember the name of this song. Everyone's yelling it right now. I know, guys. We'll think of it later.
I'm sure.
I'll think of it in the middle of the podcast.
I have not the damnedest clue what it is. I'm definitely not yelling.
Hang on. We're going to find it now because now I'm
a little sidestep doing some research.
Because my old lady brain is failing me, guys. There's only so much. I can't help falling in love. That is the one. Okay. That is such a beautiful song. Oh my gosh. And it was originally in Blue Hawaii, which was one of the biggest Elvis movies to ever air. And then, of course, it's like one of like the main wedding songs I've ever heard. I've been to not a lot of weddings, but a few. And like every wedding I've been to, that song is played.
Awesome.
But I'm super excited for this. There was definitely a little bit more than what I thought was going to be into this conspiracy.
I know it goes pretty deep. There's a lot of theories, right? There's a lot of theories.
There's a lot. There's a lot. There's even some phone calls. There's some audio recordings. There's the government got involved because, you know, they can't keep their nose out of anything. Right. So
some possibly biographical depictions by Bruce Campbell of what may or may not have happened.
I don't know. He became friends with JFK at one point in time. I know that.
He may. Yeah, he did. And he met Ozzie Davis at one point.
He did.
I hear so.
Well, I am super ready to get into.
You ready to rock and roll?
I'm ready to rock and roll. Let's go.
Ooh.
Elvis is entering the building, baby. So, Elvis was actually born on January 8th, 1935. Which is way longer ago than what I thought it was. I don't know if that's... I don't... And I think what I mean is like, that's way farther back than what I thought Elvis was. Because like he's, you know, in the 50s through the 70s. So like to be born in 35, I'm like, that's a way like... It just struck me as so odd to be like, oh, wow, that's only 90 years ago. You know?
Yeah, that is wild. That is wild.
So he was born in Tupelo, Mississippi. I'm really sorry if I pronounced that wrong. I'm from Chillicothe. I understand. So his rise to fame is actually very interesting because he was first a sergeant in the U.S. Army. He's classified as being an American singer, actor, king of rock and roll, and a cultural icon at only the age of 22 years old.
Damn. So he did a lot in his early years.
Oh, yes. And I mean, at the age of 22, that was when Jailhouse Rock and King Creole released. He was 22 and 23 when those released. So, I mean, me thinking of myself at 22 and 23, that's like,
that's the thing. When you think about people like Elvis Presley or Michael Jackson, you like, start seeing like all the accomplishments they made at an early age. You start to question like, what the hell was I doing?
Right? Like, what is going on? That and like how magnanimous like that responsibility would be to, you know, like you have like the entire world looking at you at that point in time. Like, I mean, it was Elvis.
Absolutely.
And I mean, those were in the early days. So I mean, imagine being 22 years old and having people tell you, oh, you're going to be a legend. You're going to be a star. Like how cocky you would get. I don't know. Maybe he was like, I don't know. Maybe you rise above and you become super humble. I don't know. But it would definitely be a little harder to be humble when you have 149 hits to appear on the Billboard Top 100. Number one for 80 consecutive weeks. There's 57 weeks in a year, just so you know. So like over a year, consecutive weeks of being number one on the Billboard hits, 114 top 40, 40 top 10, and 18 number ones. So more than 90 records would hit the charts, and 10 of those records would reach number 1.
Wow.
And that's just in music alone. In movies, he would actually star in 31 feature films. For years, he was actually Hollywood's top box office draw. 2 most famous, we've already talked about a little bit, Jailhouse and King Creole. And those were his first movies to hit the silver screen as well. First really, really big ones, at least. The ones that made the money. Blue Hawaii, I think, is the top grosser. Or at least was at the time.
I have never seen any of the Elvis movies.
Oh, you should.
I've always heard are they kind of schlocky? Or
they are. But you still should.
Well, I like schlocky movies.
Yeah, they're fun. I'll watch them with you. They'll be fun.
That's right up my alley. I might check one out.
They'll be fun.
I'm sure they're pretty easily to access. So
yeah, I mean, there's like whole collections that like you can go out and buy. Like I want to know if there's like an entire collection that you can get like with all the records and the movies, like just an Elvis mega pack.
Oh, it'd be maybe.
I'd put some money towards that. That'd be fun. Only if it comes with a suit. If you throw in the suit, I'm cool with it. I'm still obsessed over the fact that going back to Bruce Campbell, that I didn't even get to keep the suit that he wore. No. It's like it was stitched to me.
No, like what? Take it right off and return it.
He was done. I'd take so many pictures in that suit. I'd be like, it never came off. What are you talking about?
It'd be a pretty epic Halloween costume.
It really would. I would just love to know, like, this. Is it silk or leather? Or
I imagine some combination.
Oh, it's beautiful, beautifully crafted as well. So one thing I didn't know about Elvis is that he was actually Deputy Presley. Did you know about this?
No.
Yes.
No, I had no idea.
He, in 1964, became special deputy sheriff for Shelby County of Tennessee, which is where Memphis is located. So how this came about, it's quite interesting. So Presley was actually always a fan of badges and blings, and of course our boys in blue. So, as well as being great friends with Bill Morris, who was the sheriff as well as the Memphis mayor, they were such good friends. And Morris found Elvis to be so trustworthy and so loyal, and he had done so much for the town of Memphis and for Shelby County that he decided to make him an honorary sheriff's deputy.
Wow.
But that didn't.
I had no idea.
But that didn't mean that Elvis didn't already have to fill out an application. Didn't quite have to, but did as well take a firearms test. In getting that position.
Okay, so he had to still go through the right process.
With an honorary position, I'm not sure if he had to with an honorary position. But I mean, he did. There's record of it that he did. Which that's gonna keep that in your noggin because that's gonna come into play later.
What is the idea of an honorary deputy? I don't understand the point of that. Like even just like on the surface level, like what's the point of making a famous person
like a figurehead?
Yeah, I don't get the point of that.
Like they can wear the badge and like be good representation, but they're not actually gonna like do anything.
I guess. You know? Yeah, that might work. So it might kind of cheapen the idea of being a deputy. Like some random actors walking around claiming to be a deputy.
It's kind of like when Kanye West got an honorary PhD. I was like, sir, or a doctorate. It was a doctorate. I was like, sir.
He claims to be a pretty smart guy.
Okay. My face doesn't hide it either, guys, just so you know. Okay. So, of course, throughout Elvis's life, and we're gonna glaze over quite a bit of his legacy because I wanted to really get into this conspiracy and also get into a lot of details of the death of Elvis Presley as well. So we're kind of just glazing over the highlights of his life. To be honest with you guys, we could do an entire episode on just Elvis's accomplishments and all the things that he did, his entire life with Priscilla and, you know, a former Miss Tennessee as well. Cause I mean, he was getting gorgeous women. Like, but you know, we could go on and on about that. But today we are just going to talk about Elvis's death, the conspiracy, and a good old doctor named Dr. Nick.
Dr. Nick.
Dr. Nick.
Hello, everybody.
I'm Dr. Nick.
You watch Simpsons?
No.
Dr. Nick Riviera. He's a Simpsons character.
I had read something that he was like Dr. Nick was somehow like involved with The Simpsons. Like that was like an inspo or some sort of link between there. Loosely.
A foreign guy? Is he a foreign guy?
No, he's from Southern USA.
Oh, okay.
So let's get into this sad day and go ahead and get it over with and rip the Band-Aid off, y'all. On August 16th, 1977, Presley's then girlfriend, Ginger, reported that Elvis in their Graceland mansion in Memphis, Tennessee, reported that Elvis got up to use the bathroom one evening due to being unable to sleep. This was common for Elvis to just get up and move around when he wasn't able to sleep. At this point, he was about 42 in his life. So it's been quite a few years since his Jailhouse Rock days.
I wonder if that explains why in Bubba Hotep, he's like always up wandering around like at night.
Yeah, because he can't sleep. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like wandering around the halls and stuff and gets wrapped up in all that mummy business. But maybe.
He did find a good friend along the way, though.
He did. This guy, the Elvis Trump, I guess he didn't find a friend in this night.
No.
Okay.
I mean, it depends on how you define the word friend. Well, anyway. So he got up to use the bathroom and he actually took with him a good book into the bathroom to read and to, do his thing.
Good book, you mean the Bible, or you mean just a
good book, just like a book that he wanted to read. So,
okay,
it'd be funny if you were reading the Bible. So he headed to the royal throne, and Ginger asked him not to fall asleep on the toilet, and he actually smiled back at her and said, "I won't." So then she falls back asleep. While Elvis is still in the bathroom. So she falls back asleep, and she fell asleep for quite a few hours. And when she woke up, she realized that Elvis wasn't next to her. He's not in the room. So she got up to go search for him. One of the first places she goes is into the bathroom, and there horrifyingly discovers the king is lying on the bathroom floor. His swollen purple body is just lying there, and his bloodshot eyes just staring up at the bathroom wall. Horrified, she calls for authorities. They come in, and not only do EMS, police officers, all of those who would be associated with such a gigantic conundrum as the king possibly being dead. Also, Dr. Nick, as we will call him, or Dr. George Nicopolis. But we're going to call him Dr. Nick. Who was Dr. Nick?
Who is he? Let's hear.
Dr. Nick was actually the personal physician of Elvis Presley for about 10 years. If you don't know, most of the time, these really big celebrities will have their own personal physician, and like that is their job. Like they treat this one client, they maybe treat members of their entourage, and that is what they do. They do the same thing for like nurses. Like you can see on like Instagram and TikTok, like I think like the Jenners and the Kardashians are really famous for like posting when they get like fluid IV treatments. And I'm like, just drink some damn water. Like you don't need all that. But that's what they do. So Dr. Nick was, a personal physician for Elvis and had been for a while. So Dr. Nick would actually get into a little bit of trouble because come to find out he was prescribing Elvis thousands of capsules of various drugs, ranging from amphetamines, diet pills, sleeping pills, and overall taking about 25 pills a day by the end.
Wow.
So Elvis had actually been treated in the hospital several times the years before his death for throat ailments from singing, talking, all of that good stuff, hypertension, high blood pressure, and then I'm going to butcher this word, pleurisy, painful breathing, which could be a problem for anybody, let alone a massive rock star who's getting up and dancing and singing and got all kinds of things to say. And they never said this, but I would imagine at one point he was treated for constipation because like in the death report, it actually said that he was constipated for 4 months.
Jeez.
Yeah. 4 months. 4 months. 4 months.
Man, I feel like that would cause a lot of issues.
It did, actually. Now that you mention it. It actually did, but so his diet also did not help with any of these problems, because it was very, very poor. He would eat, quote, platters, end quote, of cheeseburgers, fast food, and then that paired with declining physical activity. The king was just not doing so hot.
Damn.
So
platters
all of that.
Cheeseburgers will do that to you.
Platters of cheeseburgers. Gypsy would love that. Gypsy would love a big platter full of cheeseburgers.
I can't say I've ever had a platter of cheeseburgers.
No.
Not even at like White Castle. I don't think we eat White Castle, but I imagine that's the only circumstance where I can imagine having a platter of cheeseburgers. But even then,
I don't want like a platter. I would want more like the big cheeseburger, like the one that's as big as a platter, and then you can just cut it into pieces. That's what I would want. I wouldn't want like a whole, like a many of them. I would just want one big one.
One giant.
Just one big one. Maybe that speaks to my simplicity. I don't know.
I don't think there's a difference.
Probably not. Yeah, it's all the same.
A platter or a platter of cheeseburgers or a cheeseburger the size of a platter. I think it's the same.
I think it would be the same.
I think it would be the same.
I feel like it would. I don't know. It just depends on how you like it, I guess.
I guess.
As you mentioned, Ty, this would be a very, very big problem. All of this, especially the constipation. And I am not a medical professional, so don't come for me for this one. But basically what ended up happening was the valve that went from Elvis's heart to his stomach had so much pressure and so much blockage in it that because of poor diet, medication, all of this, all of the contributing factors, and especially the hypertension that he was treated for, I would think, led to this causing him to have a heart attack while he was on the toilet, which would stop his heart and he wouldn't be revived. He also had this thing called a distended abdomen, which basically, because have you ever seen the photos of Elvis with like the big round belly?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what a distended abdomen looks like. It's basically when gases and toxins get built up in your abdomen and they can't release anywhere. So they just stay put until like they just poof. Jeez. I'm not that scientific. I don't know where it goes. So that ultimately would be the cause of death for Elvis, would be cardiac arrest because of all of these contributing factors. However, Dr. Nick would be brought into a lot of questioning because of all of the different medications that he had been prescribing Elvis. Not just giving, prescribing, like actual signing of the documents, actual, like, okay, I'm going to give him this because he asked for this. And he really did. He would give it to him because Dr. Nick is actually quoted as saying, Elvis was a firm believer that there was a medicine for everything. He was always childlike with these things. I don't think he ever realized how harmful these things could be to him. Elvis was convinced he needed these drugs. It was pretty much like Dr. Nick saying, like, if I don't give them to him, he's going to go get them from someone else, which 100% enabler. Like you're enabling a drug addict at that point in time. And like, I know it's the king. I know. I have mad respect for the king, but call it what it is. Like, I mean, he was in his early 20s taking uppers and downers so that he could pull all nights and, keep a hold of like this crazy lifestyle that he had. I mean, he was taking, let's get into what was in his system when he died. So, shall we?
Let's hear it. Let's hear what was brewing in the
system.
King's blood. Yeah.
Brewing in the blood. So only 10 of the 14 drugs that were found in Elvis's system have been released to the public. The actual autopsy report for Elvis has actually been sealed and has been since 1977.
Wow.
So there's quite a few things that I think the Presley family wants to keep separated and wants to keep private.
That is wild.
However, it doesn't help with this conspiracy because, I mean, I'm all about respect and whatnot, but release the files. So, any guesses on what you think Elvis had in his system?
Probably definitely cocaine, right?
Not listed. Not listed.
Oh, wow. You'd definitely be on coke. Pot at least?
No, not listed either. So, although pot wouldn't surprise me. That would probably be the one that would. I don't know what speed's listed.
Was he on meth?
Yep.
Meth?
Yep.
Jeez,
He was on meth. Yep. Methaqualone.
Yikes.
Y'all have fun with that. So, but they also found codeine, morphine, diazepam, another one I'm going to butcher, and desmethyldiazepam. It's a benzo. It's a downer.
Okay.
Ethanolamate, also a sedative. Ethchlornival, which is a sleeping medication.
Okay.
Pentobarbital, which is a sedative. Phenobarbital, used for anxiety, insomnia, and seizures. And butabarbital for insomnia and anxiety as well.
Okay.
So, bunch of uppers and downers, which something that I did find in my research, which speaks to like Elvis's very early drug use, is that he actually gave Priscilla a mixture of Adderall and downers to keep her awake during school while she and Elvis were dating.
Wow.
Yeah. Early on. Because he was like 24 when they started dating.
Sketchy stuff. Yes. Some sketchy stuff here.
Oh, yeah. He was heavy into it. But I mean, at that point in time, like, it was just
that rock and roll lifestyle.
It was that rock and roll lifestyle. And I mean, honestly, it was the devil that you feed. And I mean, honestly, I'm saying honestly a lot, but there's something to be spoken for, like that, artist mentality or, like mental health and whatnot, I guess I would say. Not saying that all artists have mental health issues. Honestly, everybody has a mental health issue. Like, it's statistically proven 100% of people will experience some sort of psychological disorder at one point in their life, whether acute or chronic. So just to go ahead and get that out of the way. But like, I really think like that drug use, like that heavy of drug use, like there should have been someone on his team that was like watching his back and was like, hey, what are you doing? Like, here's this 20-year-old kid.
It's the king, though, is the thing. Like, how do you say no to the king? You can't. What are you going to do? He's the king. I mean, that's the best way I can put it. Like, the people that he surrounded himself with, they just like waited hand and foot for him.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think anyone had the courage to question him, because the king was more than a nickname. I think that was just his persona. He really was like royalty. And you look at the people that he surrounded himself with, and they were just servants. They were subservient. They waited on him hand and feet, and everything he did was right as far as he knew.
Oh, I don't think that's an ideal lifestyle, though. I mean, that's just me, though.
Right. It's a dangerous way. You have someone say no.
Yeah, it's nuts. That alone is just absolutely nuts. With all of that given, and even speaking of the people that Elvis traveled around with and hung around, so Elvis would actually travel with 3 separate suitcases, which all of them were filled with pills of various drugs. And reportedly, this was for all of Elvis's entourage, but it was also reported that Elvis and Dr. Nick would really be the only ones getting into the suitcases.
So Dr. Nick was a pillhead too.
It seems like it. He's either dealing them or like he's like, oh yeah, let me take some. Which I mean, either way wouldn't surprise me at this point. I got mad Michael Jackson vibes off of this because I was of course around when the whole Michael Jackson thing happened. But anyway, turn away from that. So
save that for another episode.
Yeah, for real, because that's a whole other episode in itself. Dr. Nick, like I said, got into a lot of trouble. And came under a lot of scrutiny for the way that he treated Elvis as a patient. It definitely didn't seem like Dr. Nick would say no to Elvis, to any request that he had, even to prescribe him drugs that didn't work with his body chemistry or other medications that he was taking. So Dr. Nick would actually face trial on all those counts. And unfortunately, or fortunately, he would be acquitted on all counts of overprescribing Elvis drugs. And the proper accusation was actually, quote, unlawfully, unwillingly, and feloniously prescribing medications up to Elvis's death, end quote.
Wow.
Yeah. Swallow that.
Like, scot-free.
Yeah. Well, I mean, not technically. Not technically.
Oh.
So the same year, the Tennessee Board of Medicine would actually examine the case, and they would find him guilty of overprescribing and suspend his med license for 3
so he wasn't
months.
able to practice med. Oh, okay.
For 3 months. He was only
For 3
suspended for
months.
about 3 months. From what I gather, though, so it would be about 15 years before his medical license would be completely revoked after Elvis's death. It would be 15 years after. But from what I gather, he worked for, or what's publicly known, he worked for a disability claims agency. He also was a manager of a local restaurant. And then he just kind of did like these off the wall jobs that didn't involve medicine for a long period of time, even before his medical license was revoked. So it seemed kind of like people heard his name and was like, no. You killed Elvis.
Killed Elvis, yeah.
Yeah, you killed Elvis, man. You killed the king.
I think it's a similar thing with the doctor who a lot of people put the blame on for killing Michael Jackson because he was in a similar thing. I think a doctor prescribed him the wrong pills or didn't take the necessary steps to save him, and that guy got kind of blackballed as well for killing Michael Jackson.
Yeah. When you're in that kind of a private situation, you really just don't know all the ins and outs of it. And even like we're not in that lifestyle, man. Like we don't know. We don't know. And yeah,
once this podcast takes off, who knows what kind of lifestyles we'll be living.
Fuck yeah.
Find me at Dr. Nick. That's
yeah. Only if I get my glam squad. Only if I get my glam squad. Guys, you don't understand. When we found out that we were going to Bruce Fest, I said, I want a glam squad. And they all laughed at me. They were like, what do you need a glam squad for? I'm like, the literal squad of glam. Yes, I need it. Thank you. Bye. I digress. So in 1977, Elvis would be buried in his lovely mansion of Graceland. And he would actually be buried in what's called the Meditation Garden. And he would be buried next to his late mother.
Okay.
And his daughter, Lisa Marie Presley, who just passed away this past year, actually joined him in the Meditation Garden along with her son, Elvis's grandson, Ben, who died in 2020.
Oh, and this is at Graceland, you said?
This is at Graceland. It's in the Meditation Garden at Graceland. Beautiful property. Absolutely gorgeous. The garden looks gorgeous. The graves are actually like, from what I can tell, they're like risen. Like they're like the old school and they're like in a circle. It's quite beautiful. It's quite
You ever been
beautiful.
to Graceland?
I have not actually.
Where have I?
I have not. I did see Elvis's gold piano at the Country Music Hall of Fame. And it was actually supposed to be, I hope I'm getting the story right, man. It was actually supposed to be an anniversary present from Priscilla to Elvis. It was his, I believe, grandmother's piano. And she had it completely redone in gold.
Wow.
Had a golden piano made for him. And he hated it.
Really?
He hated it. He hated the fact that that happened to his grandmother's piano. It was the sentimental factor of it.
Yeah.
So he actually like didn't even put it in the house. Like I don't think he played it all that much. I don't think so. Someone who knows that story a little bit better than me, check me on that one. But I remember hearing that and just going, that's the anniversary that went to hell. Oh,
kind of get it though. That's kind of
ask. Just always ask. Just ask. It's fine. It's fine. Listen, Ben nor I like surprises. We don't get surprised in this house. So now the reason we are here today to talk about the Elvis Presley conspiracy.
All right, let's hear it.
Which is funny because also at the time of this, Special Agent Elvis just dropped on Netflix too, by the way.
I've seen that.
I really wanted to watch it.
At least at this time, I haven't watched it yet. I don't know.
I know. I'm excited to watch it. So have you ever heard of Phil Atcherson?
Never.
Okay. Mr. Atcherson's a very interesting fellow. So he's the director of self-proclaimed armchair detectives, and they actually formed a committee called the Presley Commission, which basically tracks down all of these people who have claimed to encounter Elvis, who have seen him, who have heard from him, And their main goal is to just get the truth out regarding what happened to Elvis and mainly let him know that it's safe to come home. From what you may ask.
Yeah.
So we're going to get into this. So Ackerson and the rest of the commission, they theorized that Elvis did not die, but faked his death, assumed another identity, and drug addiction was just the cover-up. Dun, dun, dun.
Okay.
Now you may be asking yourself why.
Yeah. What's the reasoning here?
Because Secret Agent Elvis. For the DEA, Secret Agent Elvis.
Okay.
So, Ackerson proclaims that Presley was not given an honorary sheriff's title, but was in fact a lawman. Remember how I told you to keep in mind that, Elvis did become an honorary sheriff's deputy.
Mm-hmm.
So this is where this comes into play. And Ackerson actually cites this by the fact that Elvis put in an application and did take the firearms test for the job, as well as offered evidence that Elvis was in a drug stakeout as a deputy. He didn't offer me this evidence. He offered the Rowan Times this evidence, but the Rowan Times didn't write about this evidence. Just so you guys know. I was so upset I couldn't find this. I was like, are you freaking kidding me?
So Elvis was actually part of a drug sting?
According to Phil Ackerson, he was a part of a drug stakeout while he was a sheriff's deputy in Shelby County.
Okay. Interesting.
So,
which is, that's where you said it's where Memphis is, right? So
yeah,
it's a pretty big
it's
county.
it's a big deal. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, you talk about all the trafficking happens through big cities, especially through the major highway systems and all of that. Anywhere where there's major population, major traffic coming through, there's more than just people going through there.
Right.
So I found this super funny, by the way, the real story.
You ever while you're driving on a highway, just wonder how many trucks you're passing have drugs or...
I don't want to think about it. That'll make me sad.
People stashed in
I don't
them.
want to be sad. I don't want to be sad.
Isn't that crazy? It's more than I imagine there's a pretty good probability that at some point in our lifetime we've been within very close proximity to human trafficking.
You've also probably talked to a serial killer in your life, or at least shook hands with one.
Yeah. More than likely.
More than likely. There's more serial killers out there than what we actually realized.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. I just want to
Mike might be a serial killer for all we know.
Don't do that. What's going to happen to our podcast? Is he going to be allowed to do our... Eric's not a serial killer. Eric's too anxious for that bullshit.
Why are you so anxious?
He's too anxious. That's what his dashing job really is.
Yeah, that's what he's doing. He's out dashing. He's
stashing them bodies.
Brains in. Yeah, bashing people's brains in.
He's stashing and bashing and then dashing away.
He's perpetually anxious because he's thinking, man, anytime he could come down on me.
Yep. He's a gazelle.
Or that's just his persona. He could be calm, cool, and collected, but he's just chosen. He's like, no one would suspect a serial killer to be as anxious and high strung as this. Might be mastermind.
I don't like this.
Might be a good episode of Cult Talk Conspiracy. Is Eric?
We're gonna get him on like an intervention style and just put him on there and be like, so.
A lot of people go missing in Chillicothe.
Yeah. What do you got to do with that? Where were you? Where were you, Eric? Where were you? We're going to have to bring Mike in on that because I don't fully trust Mike anymore now. No. Oh, he better still be able to do the podcast from prison.
Yeah, I don't trust Mike at all for different reasons. We won't get into that here.
So, in 1970, the king would speak with the president. Did you ever hear about this?
This is why he's alive, right? Yeah.
Yeah, this is why he's alive.
He met JFK, right?
He met President Nixon, or he spoke with President Nixon.
Okay.
Yeah, so according to documentation, this really did happen. The king actually spoke with President Nixon and said, I want to help our country. And the way the story goes is Nixon said no. Nixon said, you're too big of a superstar. We can't do anything with you. Please just go do your thing. Go entertain. Do the entertainment thing. we will do the politics. You know how entertainment should be nowadays, where, they do their thing and they let the politicians do theirs. But I mean, that's neither here nor there. But what would happen is, according to the Presley Commission's theory, is Nixon would actually appoint Elvis Presley special agent at large for the government, which this organization would later be deemed the DEA, or the Drug Enforcement Administration, which makes a lot of sense, given why his drug addiction would be, posed as a cover-up, is because he's actually working with taking these drug traffickers and mules and drug lords and everything down.
Right. Interesting.
But it's also kind of an oxymoron as well, because it's like you're fighting the thing, but you also get, like you're
die on a toilet.
Yeah, because of drugs.
Yeah, not a good look.
Yeah, no, that's a vastly different look. Vastly different, y'all. Have you ever heard of Operation Fountain Pen?
Never.
Okay, me either up until this.
Okay.
So,
Let's hear about it.
Operation Fountain Pen would actually be the result of Elvis giving testimony, which would incriminate a lot of people in the music industry and a lot of organizations in the music industry for trafficking drugs. And the biggest of them all would be the illegal trading of airplanes to celebrities. So government agencies would get these airplanes and they would trade them to celebrities.
Okay.
Hi, shy.
Hang on. Yep. So it was a airplane trading?
It was like an airplane trading thing. Like it was just like, here, you take this, you take this money and I get an airplane. Or you take these drugs and I get an airplane. Or I'll give you this airplane and the drugs are on the airplane, but I want my plane back.
Now, was this like an official thing, or just like a conspiracy
This is all
thing?
under wraps.
Okay.
This is all under the table. So this testimony would actually come out the day before Presley would be pronounced dead. Very, very interesting time period there. So Atcherson would actually reference back into the early days of Presley's military career and would actually cite when Presley was stationed in what was supposed to be Texas, but the Army actually stationed him in New Jersey to avoid fans and media like overcrowding the base and people trying to like sneak in and whatnot.
Right.
Which, I mean, that makes sense. Like, you've got a guy, I mean, you got freaking Elvis Presley. Like, let's be real here. So, I mean, that makes total sense that you would switch the bases and just be like, oh yeah, he's going to Texas. Not really. And I mean, that also keeps the other men and women there safe as well from, that overcrowding and overpopulation of people. But this also showed that the government had already shown that they would protect the king. And the theory would be that Elvis would testify, die, quote unquote, or sort of, and then would be protected along with his family from these mobs, these drug lords, the drug mules, all the people that would want to come after him for giving this testimony.
Okay.
Pretty compelling stuff.
Yeah, it's I've never heard of that.
But like also like it's kind of perfect though. It's kind of perfect. Because you give this
for
testimony.
All this stuff, all this stuff, like it could be coincidental, but it does all really well line up to the idea.
So working with the DEA, I mean, the one thing I can't get over, I mean, I don't know. We're gonna go. Well, let's finish the theory, and then we'll get into my thoughts.
Okay.
So Phil and the rest of the armchair detectives would even go on about Presley's body at the funeral in 1977, and this got me. So they would go on to say that it was actually a wax figure with a complex cooling system inside the casket that was made up of dry ice, battery-operated silent fans, which would turn and spin on the inside of the casket.
Okay.
So, and they actually said that this was the reason why Elvis's body appeared to be perspiring during the time of the funeral. because the funeral.
That's a thing? It's a thing? His body was like sweating?
Yeah. Yeah. His body was sweating during the funeral, which I looked up and found that bacteria in our guts may continue to break down food after we die, which can generate heat. And that's because all the cells in our bodies don't all stop metabolizing at once. So,
which would make sense because he was constipated
for four
months.
Forever. Like, that sucks. That straight up sucks. Like, oh man, there was a nurse who spoke out about Presley, like toward the end of his life. And she said that he was like absolutely miserable.
I imagine if you're constipated for 4 months, I just can't imagine.
You can't really move.
And eating platters of cheeseburgers a day, like
that's gotta just do. Like, I mean, because I know how I feel after like a really like carb loaded meal. You just like feel so weighted down, and it's like, oh man, I couldn't imagine. I mean, that would be heaven for like an hour. Maybe.
Oh yeah.
Not the constipated part, just the cheeseburger part.
I know. I feel pretty gross after having a hamburger, so I couldn't imagine having a platter of cheeseburgers.
I'm done after one hamburger. You give me a hamburger and some fries, and I'm pretty done. Now, pizza, on the other hand, I'll eat a whole fucking pizza by myself.
Oh, pizza nonstop.
No, I feel like
I'll never say no to pizza.
I feel like such a glutton when like pizza or tacos come out. I'm like, I can't say no. So because of the toxins in the body, that was why he was sweating at the funeral, which is really gross. I'm really sorry to the Presley family for that one. I'm really sorry. And again, stemming back from, all of this. So the Presley Commission actually came out in 1982 and presented their evidence on why Elvis was probably still alive. And they said the reason they wanted this to be public because Phil Ackerson, he actually wasn't that big of an Elvis fan. He really wasn't all that into it up until he started reading books. And he read Is Elvis Dead? And I believe he also cited portions from Dr. George Nicholas. Is that how you say his name, sir? Nicopolis. From Dr. George Nicopolis' book, The King and Dr. Nick, What Really Happened to Elvis and Me by George Nicopolis.
Okay.
So that is the proper name of the book.
So he wrote like a tell-all or something?
He wrote a tell-all basically to like clear his name and be like, listen, I did what the man asked. Like, and I'm just kind of like, okay. But you don't give your toddler a cookie because they asked for it. Okay.
Yeah, true.
So, and like he read all these things, got super into the story and whatnot. And, really just was kind of like, no, there's no way this guy like passed away and, at least not passed away like that. So, and he really hated the fact that he, and along with many others, I should say, really hated the fact that Elvis went down kind of as a druggie, or being known for being on a lot of drugs. Because I don't know, maybe it's just because like, I'm younger and like I wasn't like up and around during those times, but I still see Elvis as a great rock and roll icon. Like the fact that he did drugs is by far a very good cautionary tale, but I'm not like, oh yeah, great rock star pillhead though. Like that's not how I think of Elvis. But that's me personally. So he wanted the truth to be told about Elvis, because Elvis adamantly would deny drug use. He was very against drinking alcohol and he would adamantly refuse and say, nope, I'm not on drugs. And he also wanted Elvis to know that it was safe to return to the U.S., that, these mobs and these drug lords and whatnot, they were not going to come after him, that they were long, long gone by 1982. And he just wanted his friend to come home because he did regard Elvis as a friend. He learned a lot about him. So, and I mean, we kind of know what happened to that theory. Like, I didn't really need to go too far into the aftermath of that one. We're here. So what was very interesting though, is I read an article that came out in 2019 that told the story of a mysterious audio clip that came out 4 years after Elvis Presley's death, so 1981, which the Presley Commission presented their information in 1982. So 81, 82, very roughly, very close together. So this audio recording was released that had people nearly convinced that Elvis had faked his own death. Why? So number one, it sounded just like him. Which that to me doesn't hold up a lot of weight because, I mean, how many Elvis impersonators do you know?
Yeah, I think everyone knows somebody can do a pretty good Elvis impersonation.
I mean, I lived in Vegas, so I've seen some pretty good Elvis impersonations, even from like a young kid standards. Like I've seen ones that have made me be like, oh, that's Elvis. So the second thing was he spoke about traveling the world in a disguise, and he also feared the eventual exposure of who he really was.
Where'd they get this recording from? Where was it?
They got this recording basically off of this guy that they were like making a film of, and it was there. It was like they was in an undisclosed location. The guy didn't give his name. It was like, it just popped up out of freaking nowhere. And people are like, that's Elvis. Go find where that guy is.
So they were making a film of him, you said? And was there ever a videotape?
No, it's like a 2-minute clip.
Oh, okay. Just audio though, right?
Just audio. Okay. Audio only. So the man would then say that he lived on an island that he had found years prior, and he wouldn't disclose the location, but he said it's a hell of a place to hide. So I don't know, guys.
Elvis is supposedly living on some tropical island somewhere?
I don't think he's living now because he'd be almost 90. Well, I don't know. Maybe he did.
True.
Maybe he did. Maybe he got over that constipation. I don't know. But okay, here's my problems. So I would have liked more detail to come from this audio clip. I would have liked to have been able to hear it, especially because, like I said, I was just reading about it in an article. I did think it was super cool because there were a ton of like diehard Elvis fans that were like, nope, this is him. This has got to be him. And then, of course, you had the woman and Priscilla herself as well, Elvis's ex-wife, reportedly got phone calls from Elvis years after his death. One woman even saying that she received phone calls from Elvis up until, I think, 1986, maybe 1984. There's
like a woman that was like a friend of the family?
I tried to find her. I could not. All I found was Priscilla getting phone calls from him from time to time. And then it went down a little bit of a rabbit hole with him and Priscilla that I'm not going to get into. But it's like these people who have said they've seen and heard things, but no one's going to back it up. I'm just like, guys, I have a conspiracy podcast to run here. Give me something.
Now, has there been like any sightings of Elvis?
None that I could like find. None that I would trust enough to like say on this podcast. Like most of it was like, oh yeah, he was in the suit and the rhinestones and all of that, but nothing like.
You gotta imagine if he's faking his own death, he's not going out like that.
He's not going out like that, guys. Yeah, and the Presley family has been very open and honest. They're like, we've buried our family members. Like they're like, he's gone. Sorry, he's gone. We wish, but no. So the Presley family has buried their beloved Elvis, and his ex-wife Priscilla is now the only one that does exceed him in the family. After their daughter Lisa Marie would also pass of a heart attack in 2022. And then her son also dying, like I said, in 2020. Either way, it's good that the Presley family is still together in Graceland at this point.
Yeah.
So on that happy note, the king has left the building, y'all.
Interesting. So is Elvis a de-agent? I guess that's the question. Is he the government covering up Elvis's death?
It's a good plot. I mean, it's a really good plot and I think that
kind of makes it all kind of comes together there. I guess.
Yeah, and I think I don't know if I'm thinking of movies or like actual real scenarios that I've heard before in the past, but like I have heard pray tell of the police hiring like people who used to be in like the drug syndicate and the drug circuit,
Yep.
in organized crime, hiring them out and basically being like, okay, show us, like, help us.
Yeah, I just feel like Elvis, that's a kind of a big one to try to hide and stuff. Like, I know that's such a at that time, even today, he's pretty, recognizable.
Well recognized, yes. I just don't know how you would hide. Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I don't know how you would hide someone like that who's going to be recognized worldwide. Like, we're not just talking about, the US here. We're talking about everywhere. Like, I mean, it's just, it's crazy to me to think of that. Also,
Yeah.
what I think really stems from this theory, where the theory really, really stems from, is I don't think people wanted to see their all-American hero, the king of rock and roll. I don't think they wanted to see him go like that.
Well, I looked up in preparation for this. I looked up because I like sightings. I think that's kind of interesting. You talk about some audio clips.
Mm-hmm.
There are some notable sightings of Elvis.
Really?
Yes. The earliest known sightings of Elvis was when a man resembling Elvis named John Burroughs booked a hotel in the Memphis International Airport. Now, there was also a series of sightings that took place in Kalamazoo, Michigan in the 80s.
Okay.
Now, an interesting one. Elvis is rumored to have appeared in the background of an airport scene in the 1990 film Home Alone.
Shut up.
It's alleged that a bearded man wearing a turtleneck and a sports jacket, who could be seen over the left shoulder of Catherine O'Hare while she's arguing with an airport employee, is actually Elvis Presley.
I know the scene. Oh, we're watching Home Alone tonight.
I only watch Home Alone during Christmas. Yeah, that's an interesting one.
That is so cool. Thank you for finding that. That's awesome.
Now, it's alleged that this is actually a man by the name of Kenny Biddle.
Kenny Biddle.
Or no. Gary Richard Grott.
That's a big difference.
Yes. Kenny Biddle did the investigation.
Okay.
Because I guess it became such a well-known conspiracy theory that Kenny Biddle took it upon himself to investigate it and found it to be a man named Gary Richard Grott, who actually died in 2016 of a heart attack.
Oh.
Yes. Now, his son says that, that actually was him in the scene. People still think that it's all part of a larger conspiracy to hide the fact that Elvis inexplicably got caught up in a film shoot, I guess.
Oopsie. He didn't inexplicably do shit. He knew damn well what he was doing.
Yeah.
He was like, oh, one more time. One more.
Now, some people even think, I guess there was a big Elvis celebration for his 82nd birthday. And some people believe that Elvis was actually present for that.
What?
Yeah, because there was an old man by the name of Bob Joyce, is what he was called. And he had security guards around him. He had all gray hair, big gray beard, sunglasses, kept a ball cap really low. And people think that is actually Elvis.
Huh.
There's even an idea that Elvis himself actually worked as the groundskeeper for Graceland years later.
That's ironic. I love it.
Yeah, so there are some interesting sightings of Elvis.
That is so... Oh, sorry. That is so interesting. I am so happy you found those. I love that. I love that last one, him working as a groundskeeper in Graceland, just because I love the irony of it. We just watched The Watchmen not too long ago, so I love the fact that Rorschach is always the homeless person. Like, he's constantly just in plain sight, and I love that. That's so cool. And how cool would it have been if he could have gotten to celebrate his 82nd birthday with everybody there?
Yeah.
Oh, that one makes me
definitely
sad.
going to have to watch Home Alone, though. I'll try to post a picture.
Yes.
when this drops.
Yes. Fabulous. That is awesome. Oh my gosh. I'm so happy. This was such a good one. I don't know if he's in the ground anymore.
Yeah, I'd say he's probably in the ground now, but
probably now. Yeah, probably now. But yeah, I don't know. I still kind of latch on to my own personal theory, which is that I just don't think people wanted to see Elvis go that way. So like this kind of all stemmed from that. I know. We hate a conspiracy poo-pooer, but let's I mean, when the ex-wife comes out and says he's dead, I mean, granted it is the ex-wife, but they were together for like he always loved her. Like, and that was one of the phone calls that like she claimed to have gotten from him was him like still trying to get her back and like loved her to death. So like, I don't see why she would lie about it. I don't know. Maybe I'm just too trusting. I don't know. I don't know. I don't. Well, is it cool though? I think it's really cool. I think it's very crafty.
It's interesting. Very interesting ideas behind Elvis's supposed death.
Supposed.
Yeah, these Deceptively Dead's been really fun. Really good little series.
I like them. I've been exploring into a lot of these people who may or may not have died. There's also quite a few whodunits. Like, did they die really the way that it's documented that they died? So maybe we'll see a little bit of that with different organizations. We're gonna leave it at that. But yeah, they've been a lot of fun. I really like these mystery, and I think it kind of goes back to like when I used to like watch The Mummy and Nancy Drew and Junie B. Jones as well. Like, I think it tickles that little nerve there of loving all of these mysteries. Yeah.
Intrigue.
But really, that's all like Cult Talks Conspiracy, and you know, a lot of what we do is like investigating and researching and studying, and it's so much fun.
Oh yeah, this has been a really fun little series. Part 3, and there's plenty of room for more if you ever want to revisit this, because I think these have been fantastic. John Dillinger, Billy the Kid, and Elvis Presley. What an eclectic group of people, infamous people to focus on.
Yes.
And the mysterious means that surround their deaths. Super intriguing. There's a ton of more info if you guys want to look even further. Everyone has a different theory as what happened.
Oh yeah.
And super interesting. I'd be really interested to see what you revisit if you decide to do this again.
Mm-hmm.
But this has been a great way to celebrate Cult of Campbell's 2-year anniversary. What better way to follow up Bubba Hotep on Cult of Campbell? And what better way to end this little chapter of your Deceptively Dead series?
Absolutely. And I mean, maybe he did end up in what do they call it? Shady Hills?
Shit.
It's going to be Shady Hills.
It's Shady something. God damn it.
Shady Home for the Old.
I said this probably 12 times.
You really did.
In the actual Bubba Hotep. Pretty sure it's Shady Pines.
I think that's the one from Golden Girls.
I think it is. Yeah, this is riveting audio.
Essie loves this part.
Yeah. Essie, cut this down. Save me.
You did this to yourself.
God damn it, it's hidden everywhere.
I'll laugh my butt
Shady
off.
Rest.
Oh, Shady Rest. Okay.
Shady Rest.
Maybe Elvis ended up in Shady Rest and fucked up and met a zombie, y'all. I don't know.
Yeah, befriended JFK and fought a mummy. You never know.
Did I say zombie?
Crazier things have happened.
They have. They absolutely have. Speaking of crazier things, where can the people find our next crazy adventure?
Well, this is of course File 018, and up next here on May 30th we'll be dropping File 019. Yes. Bailey did 2 in a row, so I'm going to do 2 in a row.
Yes.
And the first one in that is going to be my special ode to pride. It is going to be the Gay Agenda File 019, talking about the origins of the infamous, the horrifying Gay Agenda.
It's very educational. Shaking in my boots.
Yep, you better.
That's a very educational one. I was very impressed.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good one. I hope everyone enjoys that. I was wanting to do it for Pride Month, which is in June, but I did it the end of May because June is actually the kickoff for Cult Talk Conspiracy Summer at Sea, where we'll be doing 3 whole months of nothing but sea-based aquatic conspiracies, and that's gonna be really fun.
Mm-hmm.
But you gotta get over that pride hump first.
The pride hump, the hump of pride. That's what I will call it.
You gotta get through that rainbow barricade, and then you can enter Summer at Sea.
Once you go through the barricade, just glitter everywhere.
A big poof of glitter. That's gonna be really fun. Also, you guys will have noticed we have some bonus episodes floating around here. These Cult Talk Conspiracy cross-examinations we've been doing. So keep an eye out for those. This has been a blast to do. And we're going to try to bring them to you, not on a regular basis, but whenever we have a friend that we want to bring on to talk about their projects and, of course, high strangeness and whatever makes them question everything. Absolutely. That's when we're going to do these cross-examinations. But yeah, and you can find all the updates, all the news on when we have new content coming out by going to @CultTalkNet across the board, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, all the things. Super simple, super easy. Cult Talk Conspiracy, of course, regularly. We're here every other Tuesday, but you never know when something will get a special file will get dropped out here. So keep an eye out on our feed at all times. Now, for the other Cult Talk Net shows, of course, Cult of Campbell just celebrated its 2-year anniversary. Can't believe it. 2 years of talking about the grooviest man alive, Bruce Campbell. You can find that on Mondays whenever we decide to drop those. It's kind of like in a weird limbo spot where we're releasing it as we have content in and just letting the fans have fun with it, let people rediscover it. And Cult of Lore, which comes out this Thursday with their special Cult of Campbell anniversary episode. You can find them the first and third Thursday of every month. And they do a really cool full-length video at youtube.com/culttalknet. And this month, or this week, this is the first time we ever announced like something they're doing. They're doing the Necronomicon, which I will actually be a part of. So make sure you listen to that. Cult of Lore. And wherever you're listening to us, wherever you listen to us, Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, Audible, wherever it may be, give us a rating. It helps us out a lot. We'd love to hear from you guys. Let us know what you think of the podcast, everything we can improve on, what you enjoy, what you don't like. I'll listen to it.
Yeah.
This has been the 3rd chapter in Bailey's Deceptively Dead. The king has left the building, maybe. File 018. And thank you guys for listening. I hope you had a rocking good time. Yes. Hope you have a groovy Cult of Campbell 2-year anniversary celebration week. Till next time, I think that's it, Bailey.
Yep.
I've been Ty.
And I've been Bailey.
Question everything.